What's up, Motocross Action? Welcome to MXA's test review of the 2021 Husqvarna FC350. If you've seen MXA's 450 or 250 videos on the new Huskies, or if you've read our articles about those bikes, you'll know all about the new WP suspension. But interestingly enough, it seems like the new direction Husky went for 2021 is actually appreciated more by 350 riders than it is by 250 and 450 guys. The new concept for the WP air forks and shock on the Huskies is to lower the center of gravity and improve stability by bringing the overall height of the bike down. The forks are 10 millimeters shorter, and the shock was matched up to balance with the forks, having a new shorter travel as well. So let's dive a little deeper into this. Lowering suspension isn't a new concept. Motorcycle racers have been doing it for years, and pro riders still do it to this day by cutting subframes down to improve handling. A common mod to lower suspension is to insert a spacer into the forks, but Husky and WP went the long and expensive way around to maintain the same separation ratio between the bushings inside of the forks. As for the WP shock, the 2021 Husqvarnas have longer shock linkage arms by 0.5 of a millimeter. They have revised bell crank and a 6 millimeter taller seal cap. The longer link arms lowered the rear seat height, while the totally redesigned bell crank ensured that the rising rate curve was exactly what WP wanted. Had they used the 2020 bell crank, the initial starting point of the FC350 rear shock travel would have been stiffer. Additionally, with the lowered rear seat height, the rear tire would have hit the underside of the fender on bottoming. To stop this, Husqvarna shortened the stroke of the rear shock from 140 to 134 millimeters by making the seal cap 6 millimeters taller. The change in linkage arm length also demanded a spring rate upgrade from 4.2 to a 4.5 spring rate on the FC350 shock. So, why is this lowered concept appreciated by 350 riders more than the other bikes? Well, 350's biggest selling market is vet riders, and vets also make up the biggest market of riders with lowered bikes. Does that mean that lowered suspension is for vet riders only? That's a big no. All good motorcycle engineers know that lowering the center of gravity and centralizing mass on their bikes improves cornering and stability. Do only vet riders want improved cornering and stability? No way, Jose. The pros lower their bikes too. However, Husqvarna is the only OEM in 2021 who went lower, and MXA loves it. To talk about the other major updates to the 2021 Husqvarna FC350, we have to stay in the suspension department because the forks have some more internal changes. Before we talk about the upgrades, we need to remember that the WP air forks aren't 100% air. They're 50-50 air and valving. The left side fork is the air fork, and the right side fork holds all the damping components. Like a spring on conventional forks, the optimal air pressure in the air fork is determined for each rider depending on their weight first. Next, the damping in the right fork is adjusted, like it is on a conventional fork, to determine how much pressure it takes to compress your front suspension. The compression setting should be adjusted based on how fast of a rider you are. As for the internal updates, besides shortening the forks by 10 millimeters, the new WP Husky forks also got the same updates that KTM earned in 2021. To continue building on their air fork technology, WP added oil bypass notches into the fork's damping leg on the inner diameter to reduce oil pressure peaks when the sanction bushing and cartridge bushing get close enough to compress the fork oil. And since WP made this update to the damping leg, they also did something similar to the air pressure leg by adding 4 bypass holes in the air seal to lessen air pressure spikes. The next update inside the forks came in the negative chamber on the air pressure leg. For 2021, WP doubled the length of the crossover bleed slot, and they enlarged the size of the negative air chamber space for a more progressive air pressure. Along with the air and oil bleed spots and the bigger negative chamber, the damping leg also earned a WP trampoline shim in the mid valve. Unlike a normal shim that is tightly packed in by other shims in the piston, the trampoline shim has room to bend because it's positioned above a small cavity that allows more damping in the mid valve without making damping stiffer at the end of the stroke. Long story short, updates like this are added to try and give the WP air fork the same feel and performance of a standard spring fork while still saving on weight and creating a fork setting that can be tailored to a full range of rider weights simply by increasing or lowering the air pressure. The forks also got a new bump stop rubber in the damping leg to add space, reduce harshness, and create more room so that WP could add an adjustable by hand rebound clicker at the bottom of the leg. Personally, I love this rebound adjuster because now I can make changes to the compression and rebound settings just by pulling over on the track and twisting the clickers with my hand. Obviously this isn't a major upgrade, but it is a little more convenient than putting a flathead screwdriver on a hay bale or asking your buddy to come down and hold the screwdriver while you're riding. Plus, now I don't leave my flathead screwdriver on the track as often, so that's a big plus. So how did the new forks handle on the track? The 2021 Husqvarna WP Exact Air Forks are a giant step forward for WP. All of the internal modifications are designed to make this stroke more fluid and reduce the effects of an Air Fork's hyper-progressive spring rate at the end of the stroke. Now, the updated WP Exact Air Forks offer a plush feel that's neck and neck with coil spring forks. They follow the ground and they don't spike at the mid-stroke. They don't lift off in chattery acceleration bumps, and the harsh feel at the end of the stroke is gone. They're very impressive. Sadly, however, not every 2021 Husky buyer will experience the same level of comfort the MXA did because they don't take the time to set the air pressure each day or find the best setting for them. The biggest problem with air forks is that they require a little extra maintenance to keep them working well. Like a tube in a tire that needs to be checked each time you ride, and sometimes multiple times if it's a hot day, users need to set the air pressure in their forks each day. Riders struggle because they either don't know enough about air forks or they simply are too excited to go riding and they forget to check the pressure each time they ride. To add to the problem, many riders try to make damping changes by changing the air pressure, which couldn't be more wrong. Once you find the correct air pressure for your weight, speed, and style, all tuning should be done with the clickers. If you never take the time to find your proper air pressure, you won't be able to fix your WP forks with the clickers. So, how do you find your best fork air pressure? The best way to find the proper air pressure is to put a zip tie on one fork leg and then go out and ride. If the zip tie is 3 inches from bottoming, lower the air pressure, it's too stiff. Keep lowering it until you're 1.5 inches from bottoming and remember that air pressure number. From then on, use the compression clicker to control the travel and don't be afraid to go wild with the clicker. We have test riders who run it at 6 clicks out and test riders who run it all the way at 30 clicks out. And this will greatly help you on your FC350 or any WP air fork equipped bike. Alright, so now that you know all the science inside of the suspension, let's talk a little more about how the 2021 Husqvarna FC350 handles on the track. The lowered chassis brings the bike almost 1 inch lower to the ground and it makes cornering a breeze. Front tire traction is incredible. It rails through corners with little or no understeer or oversteer, and the front wheel contact patch sticks like glue. You feel the most improvement on this bike in hard pack flat corners or off camber corners. You don't have to worry about the rear end stepping out as it tracks the front wheel like it's laser guided. This bike does nothing wrong and the MXA Wrecking Crew loves it. Husqvarna is the only major manufacturer to lower the seat height of its bikes, and the dividends it pays are blatantly obvious even to the most tone-deaf rider. For riders whose feet can't touch the ground on other brands, the Husky is even more of a dream. It's no secret the bikes are too tall, but finally, one motorcycle manufacturer has done something about it. Lastly, how does the bike run? Although the FC350 didn't get any changes in the engine, we still love its power. We can say without fear of contradiction that it is faster than it feels, and the lack of sensation of speed allows the rider to go even faster and the lap times to drop. Even the pro-level test riders loved it. It only took them one race to realize that the kinder and gentler Husqvarna power band enabled them to ride harder, get on the gas sooner, and be more aggressive in the tight stuff. The power is so well modulated that there are no burps, surges, or abrupt hits anywhere on the curve. It is easy to go fast when the bike you're riding doesn't fight you. That's all for MXA's test video on the 2021 Husqvarna FC350. For a more in-depth review, check out the full test inside the pages of the March issue of Motocross Action Magazine. Also, for more bike tests, product tests, latest news, race results, and more, check out motocrossactionmag.com. And before you go, make sure to click the subscribe button on YouTube. And to see some of our latest videos, click the video thumbnails now.